Hello, gentlemen. How are we doing? I hope that you are good. All right, it's Wednesday once again, and yep, it's time to hang out once again and just to connect and being stretched and have a conversation. And I hope that you can join us. All right, I'm very excited because why are you excited, Kendrick? Because it's Wednesday. All right. Yeah, I'm most probably going to give it a bit of time. I'm sure some of the guys will jump on here to join the conversation. And whilst we are waiting for you to jump on, let me do a quick recap on what we spoke about last week. I know that we did touch on. Well, we are still on the topic of um, how to stay on top of our game and how to continue to produce and and become the best version of ourselves. We continue to break that down and see what we can learn. Whenever we come on here. Um, Let me just put this on. It's a bit hot in here. So last week we were talking about the importance of maintaining or our relationships or knowing how to manage relationships because you and I don't live our lives in a vacuum. We are we depend on people. We are all interconnected. All right, my brother is here. Let me add him. Hey, my bro, how are you doing, sir?
Good, thank you, Kendrick. So I had my speaker on,
Yes,
so
sir.
you were quite loud on inside, and my daughter just brought it for me. So
Oh, is that? Oh, oh my goodness! I was
technology
broadcasting. I was broadcasting to the whole household. Oh my
to the
goodness!
neighbors, to the neighbors.
Wow! Wow!
That's
Wow!
how powerful you are. Yeah,
I
you.
hope that they are all okay. I hope they didn't get slain in the spirit just by the introduction.
No,
All
no, it's all
right.
good. How are you doing?
Yes, sir, I'm good. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, good. Been a busy
Yeah,
week, but yeah,
yeah,
we made
yeah.
it halfway.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome, awesome. Family doing well.
yeah. The family's doing well. Everybody's busy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we've got obviously a half term right now, isn't it? So, but your girls are big now, is it not? No, there's no need to talk about half term. You are like it's like now y'all do your thing, I do my thing.
No, I think it's still very much because my younger is only 14.
Oh
Still
yeah,
got
that's
lots of things still to do with her. But
all right, all right.
yeah, my eldest and her mom, my wife went to her mother because it was a
Oh,
birthday,
all right,
so
okay,
she went to go visit the family.
to go
So it's only
celebrate.
me and my daughter home. Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
good
but we're
stuff.
having a nice quiet week.
Yeah, that's what we like, isn't it? I think in general for guys, it's like what, if we can just stay at home. I don't know. Let me just speak for myself. Let me not make a general assumption. Um, but I like the quiet one. It's like I took the two not the baby but the two younger ones just before. I took them out today. We kind of like went to Casper's and then we went. I said, "All right, let's go for a walk." There's an area in Northampton I discovered. Like it's like just like a kind of a forest. So I just found a place to park. Oh man, one was so happy about the other one was complaining at last. Like, oh man, somebody's gonna have to sacrifice here. Come on, let's go. You can just let's keep on going.
Yeah, sometimes you just do it like Nike. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
you
it.
just You just do it, and they eventually, they enjoy. But if you don't make a start, then they can convince you, because they don't always agree.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of the challenge, because I wanted to take them to the movies, but then they realized the one wanted to see that specific movie and the other one didn't want to see the movie. So I had to kind of like find middle ground. All right, you guys want to go and have some dessert? Just if you talk Casper's, like you can have that sweet stuff. So everybody's on board. So that was my ticket out of the whole quarrel. Yeah, but then I said, let's go and burn it off. Let's go and walk around a bit.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm excited about this evening. I was just kind of like quickly giving the guys an update. But once again, thank you so much for jumping on, sir. So I was kind of like just giving a quick update on what we spoke about last week. If you can remember, we touched on relationships and the importance of relationships, and knowing, or kind of like having the awareness that, listen here, good relationships don't just happen. We have to put in the effort. We have to put in the time. Sometimes the money, to make a relationship to grow, and we can't like be oblivious to the fact that, listen, you're gonna come and find yourself, you are 70 years old and you're all by yourself. Nobody there's nobody around you, because you thought that everybody have to pander after you. It's like, if nobody calls you, it's like, why you're not calling me? Why don't you call? As a two-way street, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's kind of like having
continuous, isn't it?
Yes, it's like
never ending.
Yes, having that understanding that it will require some effort, and that we don't live our lives in a vacuum. We are interconnected. There are certain things that you are carrying on the inside of you that I need, and there's some gifts that I have that will benefit your life. But if we just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, then I don't think that's the best way to go about it. And I think that's what we kind of looked at last week, and I really enjoyed that conversation, and I believe we have to continue to work on that, because it's not just the conversation does not make it so. It's the effort that we put in, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, we have to work at it. But I think what was interesting is that we're not responsible for the actions of other people, which means we have to be working fairly hard to make sure we get the right response. So we have to do our best in a relationship.
Yeah.
And if we push through, we'll get the response we need. But then over time, we need trust to build up, to maintain that relationship.
That's right.
Yeah. And if you want a relationship to grow, the trust has to grow with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess if you have a long standing relationship, hopefully you get to know that person better, and you can respond better. So it's a two-way street. Like you mentioned, you don't have relationships one way, because if you don't get a response and you giving all the time and you're not getting anything in return, then you have to consider where your time, your talent, your treasure is invested. Because relationships break up where people don't want them to work. Lots of times it can work, and no one's perfect. We have to not just maintain but forgive, and also repent ourselves, and do it fairly quickly so that we can move forward. Otherwise we can dwell and we don't get anywhere.
Absolutely. I like to look at it. I put it as like a relationship is like a good wine. It gets better with time. Well, it's supposed He's supposed to, if he's maintaining the under the right circumstances, yeah, if he's maintaining the right kind of environment, it should get better, like a good wine. But it takes time. I think that's the key. Uh, and we need to be aware of that, because I think sometimes what happens is when we get, for example, we meet somebody for the first time, and after a week you tell them your whole life story, man. It's like, this is me. I mean, you just take them all out, just like, and then you find, everything is on social. Nah, but obviously that's maybe very rare, because we are men of wisdom. um, but but I think, because relationships are so complex, um, we don't just, the same way that we put in the time to understand how money works, or how a marriage is supposed to work, or even in your career. That's how we should invest in understanding. Listen here, I don't need to run away if I have a conflict with a good friend of mine. I say, no, bro, let's sit down and let's talk. That's good, because after you sit down and you talk, and it gets better. Why does it get better? Because anything that is of great value, there will be there will be some friction, there will be some conflict, but
Absolutely.
the key is to get through that. And because we come from all different kind of backgrounds and different kind of thinking, and if everything just goes smooth, it's like, no. But no, we should expect relationships to have some bumpy rides every so often. It's just, how do we handle it? How do we handle it?
Yeah, and I think, like you mentioned with your two kids this morning,
Mm,
they might be both your kids, but they're so different. Their experiences are different.
yeah, yeah,
Their personalities are different, and we have to be conscious about that as well. That we can't expect others to be exactly like us. So we have to have some tolerance, some
absolutely.
enduring capability to get through
Yeah,
problems and issues. And I
yeah,
guess the toughest ones are between family
yeah.
members,
Mm,
because where the love is greater, then the bond is greater. It's harder when things go wrong, and then to build up
yeah,
relationships
yeah,
um, needs a lot more effort, and perseverance. Yeah,
yeah. That's it. And I like what you said there about the bond, because the closer you are to somebody, when something goes wrong, it it hits hard, isn't it? It hits in a spot that, oh man, that hurts hard. That one, I felt that one. But if it's somebody that is not really that close to you, and maybe they said or they did something, then it's not as the impact of that action is not as severe, compared to, it's compared to how it just depends on the level of the relationship that you're in. But kind of like, so that's kind of like just an overview and just touching on what we spoke about last week. So if any of you guys missed that session, then go and just have a listen to it. And I'm sure it's something that we will come back to over and over again, because it is part of our growth process. That is, excuse me, that's part of our growth process. And um, I think one of the things we also mentioned, the place that the thing that God has in mind for each and every one of us, or the destiny of or that journey of fulfilling what He has called us to do, is intertwined with the relationship that we have with people. Yeah. And I remember one of the statements we read out last week was, um, if you will, it's better to be liked. than to be disliked by people. It makes life much easier, isn't it? Um, because if you feel like it's hard work to um, just to be around people, then you need to figure out a way for it not to be hard work. You gotta figure out a way to flow and to be able to connect with people. That's why it is a skill that any skill, if something is it's not something that anybody's born with. Somebody might have a better or maybe a more outgoing character or personality. Maybe put it like not character but outgoing personality that makes it easier to connect with people. But that should not be an excuse for the next person that does not have that kind of personality, because it is to your advantage to know how to deal with relationships more effectively. But what I want us to talk about today, sir, or kind of like just touch on, is because remember the conversation over the past few weeks has been about staying on top of our game. And I believe that for us to be able to stay on top of our game, it will involve so many different things. It will involve, different areas, whether uh, understanding things about finances, understanding things about relationships, understanding things about, uh, health, and, you know, but what I want us to touch on today is commitment. I believe, I think we've touched on that maybe some months ago, or every so often we would commitment will come up, but I think it's worth us revisiting that and just have a look at that for the next few minutes, and get to understand why is commitment so important. Why why is it important for us to understand that if you are not committed to anything, if you kind of like just whether committed to your kids, or committed to your wife, committed to God, committed to your business, committed to your job, committed to your health, committed to, you can throw anything into the equation. Commitment is not just a byproduct. It's not just something that we do, optional extra. It is mandatory. It is mandatory. We have to be
Well,
committed in whatever it is that we are doing. So that's kind of like what I want us to talk about today. Let's just talk about commitment, and see what nuggets will come out of this conversation. Um, because I believe that that is a key for us to stay on top of our game. We have to be committed. So, any thoughts from your side?
yeah, I think commitment is genuinely seeing things through, because when you commit to something, there's an end goal generally.
Mm,
So you're committing to something to get an outcome.
mm,
You might not know how you're going to get there,
yeah,
but making a start means you're committed.
yeah,
And I think of marriage as quite a serious commitment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if we look at, say, covenants as well, marriage being a covenant,
Hmm.
then it requires commitment. If we think of the Old Testament, which is a testament or covenant, and we have the New Testament, which broadens out and links into the Old,
Mm,
it's two different sort of timelines
mm,
that integrate
hmm,
as to creating God's word as a whole. The interpretation of those who wrote the accounts of the creation first, and everything that came behind then Jesus's birth, his time here on earth. But to let humanity know how we should live our lives here on earth, Jesus had to come down to earth to demonstrate as a human being, as a person, how that can be done. And I think we've got such a good guide in the Bible as to our commitments here on earth that we've got enough information to take things forward. And I think if we get to, through our childhood years, your teenage years, you somehow get to adulthood and you have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
And with that comes commitment. And yes, if you fall in love and you're lucky, at some point you have to make a commitment when you make all these promises to your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, there's no turning back. So I think commitment needs follow through. It needs a good understanding of where you're trying to head. And it means you probably have to let a lot of the things you used to do and which is not so important, you need to drop a few things to make space for fulfilling that commitment. And with that comes a responsibility. So if you're responsible, you'll probably know what the right decisions are. And the amazing thing is sometimes we can do the right thing without thinking. If our mindset is right and our sort of experience of what's expected of us in a commitment is right. And then if you're committed to others, if you clear to others your intentions, your trust, your input, and you're committed, then others will know that. If you're not committed, you will also find out. Because I'm thinking if, for those who have been to university, you will find in most classes people who are committed and others who are sometimes not committed. So I think in my first year when I studied graphic design, years ago, we had a student who was signed up in the course, but he wasn't committed.
Yes, sir.
So and we thought it was really strange, but his intention to come to university was to be the DJ in the cafeteria.
Wow, that's another level. Okay.
Yeah, and he made no excuses about it.
Wow.
That was his commitment. I think his parents paid for his tuition,
Wow.
but he had no intentions of sitting in class.
Wow.
And the lecturers left him because he's paying his fees, but they will find him in the cafeteria, and he's just playing music and just having a good time, not committed to the class.
I love it. That's wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we can have various commitments, but even a commitment like that, he saw the whole year through, going to the cafeteria and not coming to class. And we asked him,
I'm sorry, that's something else I've never come. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes commitment can be anything. It can be a good thing for the individual, or a bad thing for others, or a bad thing for the individual and maybe something good for others. But even he followed through the whole year. If we asked where he was, everybody knew he's in the cafeteria.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a really funny story, but it's a true one.
But the truth of the matter is he was committed. but he just
Yeah.
wasn't committed to the thing that everybody else wanted him to be committed to. He knew what he wanted to commit to, and that was to be the DJ in the house. If I can
Yes,
be
that's
the DJ, then you will get commitment from me. But don't ask me to commit to sitting in the class and listening to your talking and running your mouth.
yeah, but I
Wow.
think he was in the best course to actually do that, because
Yeah.
we only had one theory subject, and then the other subjects were practicals you could do in your own time. So when we came to university, they took the register in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and they give you your brief of your assignments,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the whole day free to do what you want to do. You can go to the library, you can go do research, you can sit
Wow.
outside and do your work, you can use the facilities.
Yeah.
And he would go off to the cafeteria.
And he knew already what he was going to do with his day.
Yeah, so but he was committed, and I was
That's it.
really
That's
thinking,
it.
now that this guy, he's, he gets done every day, he's early, he's on time, but he's committed to being a DJ.
Wow.
He had no
Wow.
interest in doing the coursework.
Wow. And I think that's even key. Just thinking about that story that you just mentioned, that's key because everybody will have their own idea what you should commit to. And then we will fall into the trap of committing to things that other people want you to commit to. That's a
Yeah,
brilliant lesson because at the end of the day, you're going to spend your time and your effort on a thing that you're not really interested in. But because you wanted to please maybe somebody else, now you say, all right, I will commit. But the thing is, you don't really want to be committed to that.
yeah,
And then maybe 1 year, 2 years of your life will just go because you committed just to please people. So that's a brilliant lesson. That's a brilliant lesson that to be learned in that story. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up, or a couple of things I wanted to bring up here regarding commitment, is that commitment can change your life, because once you've made a decision regarding a specific thing that you want to commit to, it will change you. It will change our lives forever. Why is that? Because as soon as you and I get committed, you will start bearing fruit in that specific area. It's impossible for you and I to be able to bear fruit without commitment. There is no flourishing in a specific area. There is no productivity in any specific area without commitment. That's why even if a tree decide, I want to pull myself out of this ground, as soon as you won't get no fruit from that tree. Why? Because it needs to be committed for a certain time period to be able to produce fruit, so that somebody can enjoy that. So which means if we commit, it will change our lives, and commitment will help you overcome many lives or obstacles, because you will have actually a track record, isn't it? You will learn. If I commit in any specific area, I believe you build up some kind of experience. You build up a track record. So which means when certain things comes up, you can kind of like look back and you can say, no man, because I was committed, I've gone through all of these different things, and I've seen God pull me through these things, just because whether you want to say because I was committed to maybe to your church, or maybe you committed to your wife or to your family. But if I decide I want to run, that's not the solution. That's not the answer to your problem, or to the issue that you and I are going through. Is for us to be able to stay long enough. It's like sometimes we chase shiny shiny obstacles. It's like or shiny bits. It's like everything that looks appealing. You commit maybe to one thing, and then somebody come and put another carrot in front of you. Oh, that one looks more tempting. Let me go for that. You drop what you committed to here to go after the next thing. But you and I did not stay long enough to be able to see how that would have produced for us. So I believe if we commit, it will require some kind of there's a time involved, isn't it? There's a time involved. It's maybe you say, I'm so committed to my marriage. I've been married for 2 years. No, boy, give it more time. 2 years is not long enough. So I'm so committed. I've been married for 8 years. Give it more time, bro. Give it more time. This thing is not a 100-meter dash. It's a marathon.
I like what you said about the tree, because there's a time to plant, there's a time to harvest, there's a time for things to grow. And if we look at the seasons, some trees have to shed their leaves, and go with a cycle of seasons every year. And if the storms come and that tree gets pushed aside and tossed about, the roots have to anchor deeper for that tree to stand. And that's how that tree will grow. But we don't see the roots. We don't see how it's gripping into the soil and how it's getting that nutrients when it's not looking at its best. But come the summer, when you get the fruits, I tell my daughter, every time we drive out from where we live, down the road, there's a few apple trees, but these are huge trees. And the time when the apples fall off this tree and they fall on the ground, hundreds of apples, I'm telling you, are laying in the road. And it happens every year. And they do make a mess. So the owners of the properties close to them, they often come out and they sweep up these apples. Or they sweep them together along the sidewalk. But if it's swept up, the next week, the next day, if the wind blew again, you get more apples falling. And it can become a nuisance, but they committed to tidying this up. So some don't do it, others do. And you can see the mess and the chaos where it's not cleaned regularly. But I admire this old couple, husband and wife team. They work together and they always clean up the apples every time that season comes, every year. The trees look beautiful, but when these apples start messing about, their commitment is doing that together. So sometimes we need help. We need people to come alongside us through our commitments. And if we committed and others can be committed with us, we can achieve anything. So teamwork needs commitment. If you got an assignment, and I often ask my daughters when they do team assignments, who are the ones who aren't committing? Because from my experience, there's always one who doesn't commit and the other one who does too much. But they have to share the results of that work. And that requires commitment. Even commitment to overlook that because you want the assignment done. If everybody says, that one's not pulling their weight, we're all not going to do anything. Then nothing gets done and everybody gets zero.
That's right.
So commitment will require hard work, and it will require us seeing things through. And pulling others along and building up the capability in that environment with others to achieve the goals that we set. That's certainly true for the way I see things or have experienced things.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think the one of the factors I think that we can't ignore regarding commitment is that our commitment will be challenged. Um, it will not go without being tested, and I think it will actually be tested on a daily basis. Um, and because it's easier to for me to say, you know, just to say that, oh, I'm committed, but the test will come when you have to show your commitment, isn't it? um, and I think our commitment will be tested in various ways, and one of these ways is when we are experiencing failure. um, I'm very cautious usually to use the word failure because I don't see, but I guess it depends on your mindset. I don't see whenever something does not work or go your way, I don't see it as a failure. I just see is all right. Let's find another way of doing it. Um, uh, we only fail when we quit. There's the only time I believe we really fail. But every time when things goes in a way that all right, this is not what I envisioned. I say all right, that's fine. Let's find another way that we can do this. Um, so that's one of the ways that our commitment gets tested. So the question that you and I have to ask ourselves: so how do I deal with that? How do I overcome that? Because if I buckle under a parent failure, um, then I kind of like will throw myself out of the game because I perceive that I have failed, but you have not failed. The question is, no, man, find another way to do it, and or just get over it, kind of thing, um, because that tests our commitment. I guess it's easier said than done because it's much harder when you're actually going through it. Because, but in hindsight, it's like, I mean, this is over for me. I think I'm just gonna throw in the towel and just call it quits. But right now, because we're having a conversation, it's easier said than done when you're actually going through that process of because now your head is talking to you, you're feeling all these kind of different emotions, and maybe you are surrounded or you are in an environment that is not supportive, and then everything around you screams like, you know what, you tried. It's a try. You don't have to prove anything to nobody. It's okay. You can quit now. No,
Yeah.
we don't have to, and that's where commitment is like really all right. No, I've committed myself to this thing. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. And yeah, and then and when you manage, I believe when we manage to push through that, it you come out on the other side a different kind of a person, because then you realize, all right, because I've managed to push through, it has changed my thinking. And I think also another one is when you have to stand by yourself, when you have to stand alone. Um, it's easier to be committed when you are surrounded by people that support you, isn't it? Because now
Yeah.
you feed off one another, isn't it? You feed off each other's faith, you feed off each other's strength, of each other's encouragement, you feed off each other's enthusiasm. You feed off one another, boy, but you have to stand by yourself. We will see whether you are really committed. So I kind of like I'm just going through a couple of things just for us to be aware of these are the ways, different ways that our commitment will be tested. um, when we go through apparent failure, and when we stand alone, um, then it's kind of like, no, you gotta grow some teeth on your hair and say, no, I'm gonna buckle up. and I'm going to ride it out. I know it's not easy, but it can be done. And let me just touch on the last one, which I believe is when we're facing deep disappointment. A deep disappointment. I think uh, I think that is directly linked to expectation, because when we experience deep disappointment, that's another time that we can kind of like just kind of like give up and cave in. Because if I, I'm using the word deep disappointment because there are certain things that we are disappointed about, but it's not deep. You know what I mean? It's kind
Yeah.
of like, okay, I'm a bit disappointed on that, but you kind of like just go and then you just move on. But if something is deep, it hits you like right here, then you feel it, isn't it? It kind of like you ponder on it for a while. It's like you think on it for days or even for weeks or months, and it's like, and if we don't have the strength to pull ourselves out of that, we will quit. We will quit because one of the things I believe that really gets knocked when uh, when we get deeply disappointed is we get emotionally unstable. You know, it's like you start talking to yourself and your head start messing around with you and you start beating yourself up. But why did you do that? You could have, wow, you could have avoided it. You know, all kind of different things, and you're struggling with all of this kind of emotions. But as soon as you and I get emotionally stuck, we don't. It's fine to get stuck emotionally, but don't stay there too long. If you stay there too long, bro, we will come and we have to come and pick you up somewhere. Because you kind of be curled up, lying somewhere in your bed and say, no, I don't want to be around anymore. No, get stuck emotionally, but make sure you get out of that very quickly, because some disappointments can hit us very hard. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? I know I kind of like just spit those bits out there, sir.
Yeah, even like you said earlier,
Yes,
we
sir.
all need each other, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And when those times come, those disappointments,
Mm.
which is what life is about,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That's right.
and those things will shape us, who we are. It will affect us.
Mm-hmm.
But when we can get support from our family members, our friends, and the people that really matter, and this is also based on relationships, you might not get the response from someone you don't have a relationship with.
Yeah,
We've all
yeah.
got many friends on Facebook, many friends, acquaintances, connections. But if you go through something challenging, you'll find, I would say, less than 25% of the people you know
Mm.
would back you up,
Yeah,
and would support you. Some might know about it and not do anything.
yeah.
And that's how we as humans behave, because we have to assess for ourselves what's our relationship, what's our commitment,
Mm.
what is our obligation for support, because we're all limited with time and influence.
Yeah.
So when it comes to commitment, we have to know ourselves first of all,
Mm.
and know God through his expectations for us,
Yeah.
and our journey for understanding what God's intentions are for our lives means a personal relationship. I was listening to a podcast this evening that spoke about how unique the Bible is
Mm-hmm.
and us as humans.
Yeah.
We're the only species that use language to communicate.
Mm.
And the profound thing that I heard on this discussion was, God, why did God make so many languages possible that for some of us we can't always understand other
Mm-hmm.
language? There's nobody that understands all the languages.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be misunderstandings, miscommunication, even through language. But we also, as humans, we can use language to speak to ourselves. And that's how God created us.
Mhm.
We communicate with our own language to speak to ourselves through God's revelation. And I'm always astonished to see Christians from different denominations and backgrounds speaking different languages, experiencing God in the same way
Mm.
from different parts of the world. Because the gospel didn't go there at the same time.
Yeah.
Things didn't evolve and develop over the same timelines. But yet God uses language to speak to us as humans, and we use language to speak back to ourselves. Animals can't do that. Animals have instinct. They have lots of things we share, but we, the only species, because we're made in the image of God.
That's right.
And when it comes to God speaking to us, we know He's always with us, but here on earth, we need each other. In community, we need to dwell together and help other people, because I think God put us on this earth to help others through our experiences, and in the same way we get the help from others, because there's no shortage of challenges in life, and we're not created to deal with everything on our own without God and without other people. And for that, it needs relationships and obviously commitments to make sure you maintain an open relationship to learn, an open dialogue to discuss and to talk things through and to resolve the issues that you might encounter in life.
That's right.
So it's interesting that we're in such a unique position that we definitely know we don't have to go and we don't have to face challenges alone. But we also have to prepare, read the Bible, and try to understand the word and get revelation from answers that we might seek. Isn't it? I've never read the Bible from cover to cover yet, but some people have done it. Some people have done it several times. But I know a few people who've done, but when they started, they just told themselves they're going to commit to this reading plan or to this initiative this year or whenever they had the opportunity. But I'm sure once you commit to that, you can even achieve that, to read the whole Bible. And so there's other things that you might want to commit that's important. Could be anything, your education, understanding, career change, ambitions to do things, starting a business, whatever that might be. You have to start somewhere and be committed. And then you will bear the fruits and you will see the benefits. And I think your passion is also something that sometimes enables commitment without you even breaking a sweat. Because when you love doing something, it becomes part of you, and it's so natural that it's not even hard work.
Yeah.
Because you're passionate about this, but commitment comes with the passion you've got.
That's right.
Like someone said, what's more important, motivation or commitment? Is it better to be committed, or is it better to be motivated? Which is an interesting question on those two definitions of what they mean. But I think if you committed, you've already decided you're going to see things because you want the outcome. So you're going to jump straight in and you're going to not give up. Say, for instance, you have to write an exam and you fail, and we know many students who didn't pass, and they might have to do the year over. Some might leave school and say, this is not for me. Others are committing to another year in the same standard or the same grade. But very rarely will you find people who don't make progression. They eventually complete what they've set out to do. And it comes with commitment. So you can have motivation, but that's not enough.
Yeah.
I think commitment is where motivation fits in. You're motivated to do it, but once you commit, you carry on committing.
Yeah.
Till you complete. And I think we can certainly encourage our young people. I was at our youth meeting last Friday, and we were speaking to, I think, grade 12, grade 13 students here in Cambridge, and one of the youth leaders was on a panel, and they had questions they asked. He's an electrical engineer, and they asked him what was his challenges and solutions when he was at university or trying to make sense of a career. What I liked what he said was he had lots of things go wrong, failed a few subjects, had to try again, to work harder, but he just basically decided to flip the negatives. He was also told, you won't achieve this or these results by a lecturer who's supposed to help him, and he thought that's quite a low blow. That's not the motivation that he needed, because he needs to work with this lecturer to get through the coursework. But the negatives that came to him, he flipped it around and used it positively to recommit, to get motivated, to work harder, to achieve his goals. So we can also use the negatives and flip them to our advantage, to set new goals and to set new priorities and commit to those to eventually achieve what we need to achieve.
Absolutely, man. That's so well said, eh? That's so well said. I like specifically the part where you brought passion and commitment in, or and you asked about motivation. Personally, I think motivation is a trap, because if we wait for if we wait to be motivated first before we do anything, we're not really going to get much done. But if you got passion, I see passion as fuel, because that's why you were saying it's much easier for us to be committed to anything if we are passionate about it. Why is that? Because why is it much easier for somebody to go for the one person to go to the gym, push some iron, and the other guy can't even do push-ups at home? You see what I'm saying? Because this guy is passionate about his body, he's passionate about how the way his appearance physically and his health, and whatever there is a passion, there's a motivation behind it. But it's not motivation itself, but it's the passion that he has. They say, all right, I'm going to do this thing because I just love it. I just love it. So I really believe that passion it's key. It's key, and I don't think we can even. Passion is not something that we can teach somebody, isn't it? It's just inherent. It's just there. Because the more, I think the way we can develop passion for a thing by giving it more of our attention. The more you pay attention to a specific thing and understand how it works and spend time with it and look at it in all different, it's like you get fascinated by a specific thing, and then eventually, oh my goodness, I'm actually
Yeah,
passionate about this thing. You didn't start off by being passionate, but because you gave it your attention,
exactly.
something grew on the inside of you. You didn't even realize that it was going to be that spark. As soon as you just hear whatever it is that you just hear food, say, okay, where's the kitchen, let me cook. You're passionate about food. Whatever the case might be. But I solemnly believe that that is key, sir. That is key. That's well said. Because if we try to run commitment on motivation, we're not gonna get much done. We're not. We're not, because motivation is kind of like, it's based on how I feel, isn't it? And our feelings are so unpredictable. Our feelings are so temperamental. It's like, it's like the waves of the sea. Today is like way in there. Come tomorrow, it's like all right there here by the shore, and it's like, and the next day we don't even see no waves. It's like, where's the motivation? Because it's just all over the place. But if I just do a thing because I know that the reason why I'm doing it is not because I feel like it, or because I know it's got to be done. I understand the benefits. I understand, it will impact my life, and it doesn't stop by me. It impacts those around me, and I think that is a good thing, because if we understand that what I do or my actions is not only impacting my own life, I think we will become more passionate about doing certain things, or more committed to certain things, because we know that it's no more about me. It's about those who are waiting for you and I to show up and to do what
Yeah,
we're supposed to be doing, so that their life can become better. Their life don't fall into a ditch because you've shown them a better way, or you shared your experience. So, and once we get to that kind of a mindset, to do certain things will become much easier, because it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about my responsibility, or the responsibility that I have towards those that are around me. And that's what it comes down to, because God can't even entrust us with more if we are not faithful with that which is given to us. Because we're waiting for the next great adventure. No, what am I doing right now that that impacts somebody else's life? I think that's where we need to kind of like put our energy, and yeah, not waiting for the next great project. No, what's already in my hand? What I don't know if I've spoke about opportunity. I think it was yesterday. I've made a small. I came live and I spoke a little bit about opportunity. I think opportunity is something that actually one of these Wednesdays, I think we need to kind of like touch on that. We miss certain things in our lives because there's a lot of different factors that come into play, but because we don't have the right kind of a mindset when it comes to certain things, so we can't see, because you and I, we don't see with our eyes, we see with our mind. I don't know. I don't want to get into that, because if you really just think about it. But anyway, I don't want to get into that, because we are already at the top of the hour. Otherwise, we kind of like will completely go off. But I'm really kind of like just stirred up about that. And I think if we want to continue to stay on top of our game, we will have to wake up. There are certain times where we walk through life asleep, and opportunities pass us by because we didn't see it. We didn't see it. But it key, get committed to something, gentlemen. Get committed to your family. If you are, stay committed. Committed to your wife. If you are, stay committed. To your church, stay committed. To your job, your business, your friends, whatever you can put in the equation there, don't let go. It will require some work, But if you and I want to see the fruit, if you and I want to see some results, if you and I want to make sure that we don't lose out on all the time, all the effort, all the energy, all the seed that we've sown in these areas, we have to continue to stay committed. I think that's key. That's key. Anything from you,
Well,
Mr.
well said. I was having a quick phone call today with Clinton Ritchie.
Yes, sir.
And he said the exact same thing about not letting your emotions get the better of you in the time of decision making, because we shared an example of a choice he had to make to decide how to react in a difficult situation with a client. And at that time, he was surprised because he kept calm and he didn't let his emotions get the better of him, because it was quite a challenging situation for him earlier in the week.
Yeah.
But with his dealings with the client later on, because he managed that better, the outcome was better.
Yeah.
And the answer he could present and the solution was better. So, yeah, we are faced with challenges, and they come unexpectedly. And if our emotions are tied into not being open to think logically and carefully what the best response is, then we probably say the wrong thing.
That's it.
Yeah. And I guess commitment also ties into that, because to stay committed, we have to have the right response all the way through. And we can't let our emotions get in the way of what we're trying to achieve.
Yep.
But yeah, that was something Clinton highlighted. I thought I'd just mention that.
Awesome. Good to hear that you guys are sharpening one another behind the scenes. I love it. Awesome stuff. Well, sir, thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always good just to have somebody that we can kind of like bounce things off one another, and then some nuggets comes up, and it become a blessing to everyone on here. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and I want us to wrap it up. And thank you so much for for being here, gentlemen. Hopefully everything is well on your side, and we're looking forward to see you soon. All right, bro.
Brilliant.
You so much. And,
thanks, everyone.
All right. See you soon, bro.
See you soon.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.